In the State of the Union address in January, President Obama made two pretty much dismissive, and both in terms of substance and time allotted to Russia. And he said two things. The first was that basically Russia was chronically isolated from the rest of the world. And the second was that Russia was an economic basket case. Russia was an economic free fall. I can't remember the exact wording. What's interesting is that about 30 years ago, I remember it being claimed that we were pushing China into the Soviet camp. And now it seems it's the other way around. We're pushing Russia into the China camp. Obviously, you had the big oil deal a few months ago, $400 billion oil deal. And then the joint naval exercises that were announced, I guess, last month or earlier in the year. Not just China, but it seems that with Russia reaching out to Vietnam, to India, even to Japan, I think. I mean, is Russia really so isolated at this point?
Well, Russia is not isolated. I don't think it's possible to isolate a country of Russia's size internationally. Even in the West, it's not isolated. There are very clear problems in Russia's relations with Western countries. But I think, as the Chancellor of Germany said many times, you cannot have security in Europe without Russia. Or even against Russia, you cannot have security in Europe. And when the going got tough in Ukraine, the Chancellor of Germany and the President of France flew to Moscow to discuss things with Vladimir Putin. Later this year, Vladimir Putin will be hosting two forums in the city of Ufa, which is just west of the Urals. One forum will be that of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, that unites China, Russia, the countries of Central Asia, and to which two major countries are acceding this summer. One is India, the other one is Pakistan. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, with Russia in the chair, is moving to become the principal forum for continental Asia. It will have, in the second half of this year, all the major powers of continental Asia as members. China, India, Russia, you can add Pakistan, you can add a few other countries. Turkey and Iran are very interested in getting closer to that organization.
Iran has an observer status at some point?
Iran has an observer status, and Iran is desired for a long time to join. There's a formal obstacle of UN sanctions imposed on Iran that prevents Iran from being accepted. But at some point, this thing may give, and Iran may be welcomed as a member. The other group that Putin will be feting in Ufa is BRICS, of course. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. That's the club of the non-Western emerging economies. Russia is also reaching out to some of U.S. Friends and allies. Mr. Putin's visit to Japan is on. Just last month, Japanese Deputy Foreign Minister was in Moscow preparing ground for that trip. Russia is actively pursuing relations with South Korea, another U.S. ally, as well as North Korea. Russia has signed major economic deals with Turkey, another U.S. ally, which is an important economic partner to Russia. Also a partner in energy trade. Egypt has seen its relationship with Russia improve over the last year or so. Iran there's talk about Iranian-Russian relations have rarely been so actively pursued by the two governments. Apart from that, Russia has been trying to win new friends in places like Latin America, in Southeast Asia, and elsewhere. Even within Europe, Mr. Putin has made a rare visit these days to Hungary to talk energy, and he has received the president of Cyprus in Moscow, who basically offered Russia basing rights for the Russian Navy on his island. Russia's relations with Israel are solid, and they have not been affected so far by the rapid and massive deterioration in U.S.-Russian relations. So the picture is very different from Russia being, a rogue state in isolation, reeling in its own cage and unable to move anywhere. The situation is quite different than that.